Okay, so not only do we want to focus on the price points, but we also want to focus on trends in sales. So here are the things that I think you want to take away and you want to investigate from the sales standpoint, okay? So question number 1, do you know or can you tell yourself or do you know whether sales are trending up, they're trending down, or if they're flat? Okay, first thing you need to know is, are sales numbers trending up, trending down, or are they flat? Okay, the second thing we want to know is, this is interesting, and I'll show you this graph here. What I like about this graph is that what months, on this graph here, what months tend to have all of the sales in it, please? Right, and is this important? Is this important to you and your business? Why? Why is knowing when the seasons, when hunting season is at its best, when fishing season is at its best, why is that such an important information and data for you to know? So you can take your holidays. Correct. Right? Exactly. Let's not kid ourselves, because wait, I want to know when I'm out of here. When I can go to Maui and tan myself and enjoy myself, and then I want to know when it's good because I need to be what? Busy. Getting busy because everybody else is busy, okay? So knowing the seasons and knowing those seasonal trends, okay, are important. So it's great to know what months are, what's happening, but more importantly, now I know when to put the pedal down and when I let the pedal off. Okay, so we're going into this season right now where it's time to let the what? The pedal off. Look at January and February, and then look what happens in March, and then look what happens in May. It spikes in March, spikes in May, really spikes June, July, starts to trend down in August, September, October. October spiked up a bit, and I'm guessing that November, where are the price ranges and where are the points that are demanding the most business? Do you know where those price points are? I shared with you this morning, $250 to $450 and $6 to $8. Are you marketing and are you strategic and are you focused in those areas where there are price ranges? What are the neighbors or the neighborhoods and the areas that are demanding the most number of sales? Should you farm in a neighborhood where there's no sales and listings? Yes or no? No. Where should you farm? The top areas, right? The higher activity areas where there are listings and where there are sales. How do you figure out where there are listings and where there are sales in the areas? By going to the data. Go to the source. Go to the information, okay? So the other thing is that should you focus your marketing campaigns on product and types of homes and types of people that aren't buying and selling? No, why? Right, I said one day, I'm going to focus on this area because this is where I live. And I thought to myself, does she have any idea that it's probably the least number of sales and listings and sales in that neighborhood where she's going to farm this year? And what do you believe her success rate's going to be? Slim to none. Right? And you see a lot of agents that have no strategy whatsoever of why they pick their products, why they pick the types of people, why they pick their the price points and their marketings and their campaigns and that. And this is why I think it's so important to sit down and look at the listings, look at the sales, look at the prices, and see what's trending and what's happening. So inventory, up or down or stable? Down. Okay. Is there any area in inventory that's doing pretty well? Townhouses, yeah, absolutely. How did you find that out? Stats, right? So we know what inventory and we know what product and what types are doing well, right? Now the other thing is that how many people know the success rate of listings taken versus listings sold right now through our board area? What's the success rate approximately for the properties that are being listed on the MLS and that are actually successfully selling right now is around what percentage? I think it's a little higher than that's a little high. I think it's around the 55 mark, 55%, right? So you have a 1 in 2 chance of putting your home on the MLS system and selling. Is that an important statistic for us to know? Yes or no? The next stat is that do you know what your success rate is in comparison to the industry and the local rate? And who are you telling? And if it isn't good, do you think you need to look at what you're doing with your pricing and with your seller counseling and things like that? Because if you're not better than 1 out of 2, then the average agent is doing a better job of getting their listings priced properly than you are. Does that make sense? Okay? So looking at those numbers and looking at those trends, at the end of the day, you need to identify whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market in each of those segments, in each of those markets. Okay? And identify that. The next thing I look at is, now that I've looked at sales and now I've looked at listings, now I've looked at price, now I want to look at buyers. And this is what I find is incredibly interesting, is how many people actually know what types of buyers are driving their market and where their buyers are actually coming from. We're fortunate in our area here that we are provided with information from our local board that supplies us with this great information. Okay? So, did you know that for the past 10 years, what type of buyer was driving this market here? First-time home buyers. And can you tell me, please, based on this graph right here, what is driving the market today? Move-ups. First time in 10 years, move-ups. Okay?
Nothing's really changed, though.
Sorry?
Well, the first-time buyer now,
yeah.
in the last 10 years, and now it's decided to move up.
Okay.
People, it's just...
Fair comment. What has changed for those of you that have been doing this and that? What has changed for the first-time home buyer? Why did the changing of the guard happen, please? CMHC. CMHC underwriting, all the lending and borrowing rules. Connie, shame on you, right? All of the game changers. She's just a messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, right? But what happened is that the games changed and the rules of engagement for first-time homebuyers changed, which is what they're number 2 now because their biggest challenge is what? Qualifying, getting a down payment, all the different rules of that are been implemented on them have slowed them down and have put them into the second place now. Right? So move-up buyers, why are move-up buyers leading the charge right now? Equity, and another reason? Best bang for their buck. Right? What's price point done in that mid-range, that move-up range for the last 6 years, please? Gone down. 20, 25% probably decreased. So they're getting so much more home and so much more value for their buck that it just makes sense for them, no pun intended, for them to move up and to do that right now. They're getting into neighborhoods that they didn't dream that they could afford to live in anymore. They're getting into homes and types of homes and magnitudes of properties that they wouldn't have dreamed to been able to own. Does that make sense? And so they're taking advantage of that time and that change. Based on what we saw in the price and the sales and the graphs and that, will this slow up? Probably will, but not for some time because we just started. We just started the uptrend. We just hit the bottom based on what we see. So if you're going to look at this thing, where should you start focusing your attention in your campaigns and your marketing strategies in 2015? Number 1, move-ups. Number 2, first-home buyers. And then number 3, downsizers. So the move-ups and the downsizers are both doing something, right? People are moving from single family to strata, and they're moving up in size of and upgrading, and the first-home buyers still getting away from renting and buying. And will the first-home buyers still look at getting into our market? Yes, why? Because the vacancy rate is less than what? And that's another statistic that you need in board areas and in your areas is that what is the vacancy rate? Does vacancy rate have an impact on rents? Yes or no? Does the impact on rents and the amount they pay for rent impact on people whether they should own or rent? Yes or no? Absolutely. What's the trend of rents right now in vacancy? Low vacancy, less than 1%, we're in our area here, and rents have done what? As real estate prices have corrected, rents have done this, and so it makes more sense, no pun intended, to buy versus rent. Okay? Because of the trend on investments and rental and vacancy, what is the new consumer that's entered back into our market now? Investors. Foreign investors and local investors. Both. Steve was sharing with me just in our here 2 Chinese buyers in Kelowna just in the last week. So we're starting to see the money move into what we normally see into LA and into Vancouver and into Toronto and that we're starting to see in this particular part of the world. Why are we starting to see them come to this part of the world? They like it here. Lifestyle. Same reason why we like it here, because it's warm and it's nice and it's a great place to have a great lifestyle. Okay? So we looked at the types of buyers. Now we want to look at where are the buyers coming from. So I've been tracking this for 10 years with our brokerage. And I'm always looking at the number of where these people are coming from. How many people look at their business and their model every year and figure out where your buyers and where your sellers are coming from? Okay? Do you think that's an important statistic to know? Yes or no? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to tell you this. For the last 11 years, the number 1 place that a buyer has come from that's bought with our brokerage for the last 11 years has been living from the border to the shoe swap. Local, local, local. Why is that important to you? Yeah. So where do you advertise? Local. Where do you focus your campaigns? Local. What do you tell your sellers where there's a 60% chance their buyer's going to come from? Local. Okay? Yeah. There's other opportunities. So the next opportunity is where? The neighboring province. So what I look at is what And then the third opportunity where they're coming from is the Lower Mainland. Why are they moving from the Lower Mainland? Because population is getting what, Francis? So busy. It's so busy, and they want to get to where they can have some space and they can have a life, right? So they're getting out of the city and coming to our lifestyle and that because they can cash out. And what's your average price right now in Vancouver?
Well, condo is probably, well, single house, $955.
$955. So $1 million average price, single family residential. Moving to Kelowna, could they live comfortably? Barely, I know. But could they live comfortably here? Yes or no? And put 500 in the bank, right? So that's where you look at it and look at it. So why is this so important to your business and your marketing and your strategy? Now you're targeted, now you're strategic, now you know where you're looking at. And one of the things I like best about this is that now I know where to focus my referral, my agent-to-agent referral business, correct? What offices and what places and what areas should I be focusing my agent-to-agent referral business? The Valley and the local area here, the neighboring province, and down on the Lower Mainland. So take the time, whether you live in the States or where you live in Alberta or wherever you live, and take the time and look at it. Like a question for you, Ralph. What's the trend? Where are the buyers coming from in Red Deer? Everywhere. Okay? And so where's the majority of them coming from, if you'd say? BC and Saskatchewan, so neighboring provinces. So look and see what the neighboring provinces are, the local cities are, the states and that. You look at those areas and see what those trends are. Now can you be more strategic with your marketing plan, yes or no, when you know that information, okay? So take the time to look at it and look at those buyer types and look at where they're coming from.